William Ruto, and later on, ascending to power and being the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, to whatever is happening now regarding his impeachment from office. Mr. Kango, I'd want to begin with you. In regards to the issue of evictions, the DP says he will not oversee any evictions, any inhumane and brutal evictions of Kenyans. And he says he was told to oversee the eviction of Kenyans which he deemed as being brutal and inhumane. And he said he will not. And therefore, he stepped aside and left the Interior CS to deal with that issue. Now, one of the witnesses, that is Secretary of the Cabinet, Mercy Wanjau, will appear to prosecute the issue of the DP going against or opposing certain cabinet resolutions. From where you sit, because the issue of evictions has been a bone of contention in the country for a very long time. We've seen people being evicted at night. We've seen people being evicted without knowing where they are going. On this issue of evictions, do you feel the DP himself has a point? Because if it is about evicting Kenyans and not knowing where they're going to and not providing a solution to where they will be housed, then it is something of concern. So from where you sit, do you think the DP in a way, because you said you want to prosecute all these issues with objectivity, the issue of evictions, where do you sit in regards to that? What is your view?
On or around 30th April, the cabinet passed a resolution. They say for the evacuation of people residing along Nairobi River. I'm sure that's what you're talking about. And I want to believe the resolutions of cabinet are binding all cabinet members. However, I am convinced that inhumane treatment is wrong. I am convinced that the people must be given alternative venues that should go whenever they are evicted. I am convinced that the people must be communicated to and told as to why they must move from danger zone to a safer zone. I am convinced. Now, whether that happened in the cabinet meeting, I am not a member of cabinet, so I don't know. But I want to believe the normal procedure in making such high-level decisions must have been followed. And therefore, it follows that they must have looked at all options available and discussed. I agree. When this government were campaigning, the government of today, they said never again should that happen. I agree with him what he says, But when it required that they have to vacate, they must have informed the public. And if that is a decision that the public, it was a resolution of the public, and it was made in such a manner, then His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua is accused to have made a public statement opposing Nairobi River riparian evacuation orders as resolved by cabinet. In my view, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua had an opportunity to register his dissatisfaction with that resolution in the cabinet. And the cabinet had an opportunity to listen to him and address it as such. Did that happen? We don't know. Today, when that allegation is put forward, then he will have an opportunity to respond to it. I cannot respond to it. But I can tell you that it is necessary that when you work with a team, you be a reliable team leader and a dependable team player. In the sense that when you make a decision collectively, in the interest of the majority, to the benefit of the majority, and to the safety of the majority, you make that decision in a manner that will make it possible for the people to benefit. Okay. In this instance, I think he is saying that his views did not go, it was not for the view of that, because he feels that the public were being inhumanly evicted. So he will prosecute that matter at that time.
Now, thank you very much. Mr. Sosion, coming back to you, there's a very key issue here. The bone of contention has been on the issue of abductions in the country. And this has been an issue ever since, even before the Gen Z-led demonstrations. And the president is on record saying he is not aware of any abductions that have, happened in recent times, especially during those demonstrations and even thereafter. But the DP yesterday said he will say what is wrong when it happens. And he admitted that indeed there have been abductions here in the country. I mean, give credit where it's due, that is an issue that has been happening. Indeed, Kenyans have been abducted. Later on released, others have been abducted still, and their whereabouts remain unknown. So this is something that, in as much as people say it's true, huge percentage of Kenyans who do believe it is the truth, it again contradicts the sentiments of the president.
The Deputy President is a member of the National Security Advisory Council, and I think he better renders his opinion in that particular forum rather than throwing it in the face of Kenyans without any evidence. If you look at this litany of issues from...
Well, let me just interrupt you for a moment. Without evidence, you say, I mean, there are video evidences. These are issues that have been captured on CCTVs, evidence all over the place of, Kenyans being abducted, those who were involved in the Gen Z demonstrations being abducted.
That is what I'm saying. He's a privileged state officer who should be able to canvass those particular matters at the right organs of the National Security Advisory Council or the Cabinet. But he cannot elect to tell the public at this stage merely because he's under trial in an impeachment. A number of things have been said. Eviction of people from illegal zones within the country. Number one, when we had floods, we had consequences of loss of lives, and that eviction was arrived at as a cabinet decision. So it's a cabinet decision. He was in the cabinet. We don't have record whether he raised a dissenting opinion within the cabinet, and so eviction is not a new thing. During the construction of Thika Superhighway, many houses were brought down because Kenyans had encroached illegally on the highway. But now we have a very good superhighway. The same case, we've reclaimed.
Let's talk about the issue of
public land is a key thing that has been executed successfully and legally by government. Abduction. The president has stated very clearly that his government is not going to preside over abduction and extrajudicial killings. To me, I would want foolproof evidence that particular person has been abducted evidently by the police and extrajudicial killing executed. It should be on basis of facts, not hearsay, not rumors.
It's not hearsay.
And I don't think I'm capable of answering that because
fair enough.
I don't work with the national security. And,
fair enough.
Therefore, and for me, we would need facts on that. It cannot be a matter of hearsay around this issue of impeachment. The impeachment has 11 counts, and abduction is not any one of them. It's not one of the items, and that is why I talk of the rule of relevance. Can we stick to the rule of relevance and let Parliament prosecute the 11 counts, which one of them is not extrajudicial, one of them is not eviction, one of them is not any issue being raised? Why do you bring in such matters at this time?
Now, let me explain.
Not unless...
Fair enough. Let me explain. I brought up that issue because the DP is accused of going against his boss and, giving sentiments that are directly opposite to that of his boss. But this is an issue that has, angered Kenyans for some time. And the president is on record saying, I'm not aware of any abductions of Kenyans. But this is a statement that many Kenyans believe to be a blatant lie. Because there are video evidences, there are CCTV evidences of Kenyans being abducted. But, let's just move away from that. Before we look at, Gachagua's tenure as the deputy president ever since he was sworn into being, facing impeachment right now. Mr. Okango, from where you sit, the issue of abductions, because this directly contradicts the statement of the president in regards to the issue of abductions, because he said he's not aware. But the DP is admitting that indeed there have been abductions here in the country.
It really pains me, because even as we sit here, I've just seen a message on Twitter and on some wall that there's a gentleman by the name Rono, who is actually one of my colleagues, that he has been abducted. I've just seen it now. I don't know the truth about this, but I've seen it, and we hope it is not true. We hope it is not true. But what I'm trying to say is that I agree with the public that we have seen instances of abductions. When the president was asked about this, he said that he will deal with it firmly, and the public put pressure. And I want to believe that it's something that he should deal with firmly, okay, because we have seen that. As a Kenyan, I would really hope that we don't go into those Gestapo-like abductions. We don't go there. But I also want to believe that the security officers that we have should be professional. And I want to believe majority of them are professional. They should do the right thing. So if there have been instances of abduction, and if there is abduction going on now, please, I want to request with humility that any abduction that, or whatever that is considered abduction, let's not get there. So we don't want to go there.
So you're saying, indeed, the sentiments of the DP are true, but the timing is suspect. I
am saying any leader, any Kenyan should call out what is not right and should encourage the authorities to do the right thing. Okay. And should also collaborate with the authorities to help the country be secure, okay, just in case there's something that they feel should be addressed.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much. Now, Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua's rise to become the second most powerful man has been riddled with successes and misfortunes as well. From being a first-time MP to being nominated by the president to be his running mate in the run-up to the 2022 general election, to 2 years later facing impeachment from office. Timothy Seymour paints a picture to us of Rigathi Gachagua's rise and what is deemed as a fall, if at all he will be impeached. Let's listen into that story.
In the run-up to the 2022 elections, William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua appeared like a match made in heaven, or at least they made Kenyans believe so.
People had a problem that I said the truth in front of visitors.
But with this impending impeachment from office, will it mark the end of a man who rose from the lowest ranks of the civil service to become the second most powerful individual in the country? Only time will tell.
I think to many it's bad upbringing. I was brought up by my parents and told to always speak the truth.
Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua was born on February 28, 1965 in Ruguru village, Mathira in Nyeri County. He attended Kabiruini Primary before joining Kenyaga High School for his O&A level in 1983. Rigathi would then undertake his bachelor's degree in political science and literature at the University of Nairobi in 1988. He later joined Administration Police Institute, where he trained as a paramilitary officer. That would mark the start of Rigathi's long career in the civil service, holding different capacities. But for the most part, the father of two served as a district officer in different parts of the country during the Nyayo regime under late President Daniel Moi. In early 2000, Rigathi was appointed personal assistant by retired President Uhuru Kenyatta, then serving as the Minister for Local Government. This is a position he held for at least 5 years.
You must continue praying. Continuously and endlessly.
After years of learning the ropes of politics, the self-acclaimed truthful man tried his luck at the Mathira parliamentary seat in 2017 and he won. Gachagua later joined ranks with the Deputy President William Ruto after the latter's fallout with President Kenyatta. He established himself as an ardent defender of Ruto from the Mount Kenya region. Going into the 2022 elections, the then Mathira MP decried harassment and arrest from police over corruption claims. He believed his tribulations had everything to do with supporting William Ruto. In 2022, his loyalty to President Ruto paid off as he was nominated Kenya Kwanza's running mate, and as fate would have it, the man who had endured police cells a year earlier was now the second in command.
The Deputy President-elect and Pastor Dorcas to come forward to take the oath of office.
Despite promising their relationship would hold against all odds, the fallout between William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua has made Uhuru versus Ruto's fallout look like child play.
And all this is in the hands of one man. He can't do it alone. God must come through for him. And we ask you to continue praying for him endlessly.
In under 2 years, the otherwise religious duo with strong religious backgrounds, not to mention devoted spouses, the center has refused to hold. Timothy Simwa, K24 TV.
Well, it is only a matter of time before we see whether Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua will survive this impeachment motion. And if at all he does, what next? But if it doesn't, what does it mean? What does it mean? What are the ramifications politically, especially in the Mount Kenya region? Will the president appoint a deputy president from the Mount Kenya region or opt for someone from other regions? We've seen leaders from the western part of this country saying, if at all the DP is impeached, then they should consider Musalia Mudavadi. Now, gentlemen, even as we get to the tail end of this particular conversation, starting with you, Mr. Wilson Sossion, you've been in the National Assembly. Do you think, from where you sit, the address by the Deputy President yesterday is going to, in any way, sort of affect how members will decide today or vote in regards to that particular motion, or do you believe the die is already cast and whether putting into consideration the address or not, he is still going to be impeached?
National Assembly, when it is prosecuting matters, does not listen to forums outside the presence of Parliament. And it is blind to any happenings out there unless it is a forum of the National Assembly, like the public participation. Of course, they'll respond to the behavior, conduct, and views of the members of the public. But any other forum, like media briefs, the conversations we are having here, has got nothing to do with the process of National Assembly. And the National Assembly is blind to it. It will do its work in accordance with the Constitution and the law, and on the merit of issues placed before it. That is how the National Assembly operates, so that it can meet the threshold of the Constitution and the law. Remember, at the end of the day, you also protect individual rights, the rights of the persons under impeachment. They're also human beings, and the National Assembly is conscious about their rights. Okay. So I think, as I said, we've come of age as a democracy. Okay. Who knew that one day a deputy president will not be fired by a president, but can be fired by the people, okay, via impeachment through a legal, democratic, and constitutional process that will even involve public participation? I think this is major progress for the country. Regardless of the outcome of this process, I think this is a major democratic gain and a major milestone in implementing our constitution, in ensuring that the rights of the people of Kenya are protected. Fair. Aside from the impeachment, of course, there are other critical issues that have emerged, side issues around this impeachment, okay, that are critical, and therefore the state, the executive must must address itself to them. Okay. And generally, this country will never be the same after this. Okay. It will never be the same because the impact of an impeachment is so far-reaching, and anybody in public office will carry themselves very, very, very diligent. Remember about the police, the Masengeli, trying to contempt the court, and you remember the consequences and the processes. So by and by, the state officers will be strictly and clearly accountable to the people of Kenya and should not expect any extra political hand to protect them, like e.g. the president. So we are headed for better governance if this process is handled well, handled justly, and executed in a constitutional and legal manner.
Thank you. Coming to Mr. Fred Okango, there are two issues, but I'd want to ask you first on the issue of the feud between the deputy president and the Nairobi County chief, that is Johnson Sakaja. He accuses the DP of inciting traders in Wakulima market not to move. From where you sit, do you think this particular feud is just based on that incident, or there are other factors that could be sort of bringing about the differences between the deputy and the Nairobi County boss, because there's been a back and forth between the two, and now that the governor will be appearing as a witness before the National Assembly, it even escalates the matter further. Do you believe, from where you sit, on the charges of incitement during that visit to Wakulima market by Deputy President Gachagua? Because he said yesterday, I only went there to listen to the people because they called me and they said, we've not been listened to. We want someone who can listen to us and address our concerns.
The Deputy President has admitted that some of the functions that he was allocated pursuant to the provisions of Article 147 are functions to deal with devolution. The Constitution of Kenya tells us that the national government and county governments are interdependent and shall conduct their functions on the basis of consultation and collaboration. The expectation of the public is that the national government and the county government collaborate in doing whatever they want to do to the benefit of the people. Now, coming back to the allegations, when a county government makes a declaration based on its own assessment, the national government representative cannot come and negate the same declaration unless they have consulted and collaborated as required by law. Okay. So I'll leave it there. But allow me, because of time, also to tell you that the feud between the national government, between the Nairobi Governor, Honorable Sakaja, and His Excellency Deputy President Gachagua, we don't know. But I can tell you, if it is about work, then the two will have an opportunity to present their case before that. But I said something earlier, and I've just seen it. You talked about abductions. And because I'm on national TV this morning, and this information came to me while I'm seated here, if you allow me 1 second just to say it. Okay. The KANU party has this morning received information that its digital communication officer by the name Cornelius Rono, who is equally a political commentator on the digital platforms, he is missing, his whereabouts are not known, and there is suspicion, or people suspect, that he could have been abducted. We want to send an appeal to anyone who knows the whereabouts of Cornelius Rono to please give that information so that his whereabouts can be known. Number two, we also want to ask, if at all he is being held by investigative authorities for whatever reason, let him be produced in a court of competent jurisdiction to be arraigned. Okay. That is the plea we want to make. We don't want to see a situation where he has been abducted by criminals. We are asking in a very polite way
Okay.
Whoever is holding Rono, for whatever reasons, please release him.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Sosian, your final submissions kindly.
Yeah, yes, since we've been discussing impeachment, I am sure this is going to be a milestone in our democracy, and we are actualizing our constitution, and the people then shall be exercising their sovereign power as provided for in Article 1, indirectly through the people. I believe from here, going into the future, impeachment will not be a mysterious thing, and the county assemblies should not fear impeaching governors who qualify to be impeached. And the National Assembly should not fear impeaching state officers who qualify to be impeached. We must impeach any state officer who has violated the Constitution and the law, and also engaged in gross misconduct in the offices. There is no option, and I think it is time we make our Constitution work. If we make our Constitution work, Kenya will be a better country, where the people exercise their power and they participate in the affairs of the state and affairs that affect them, and we can have a country full of plenty for all of us, but not plenty for a few who are trying to use media space and other avenues which are privileged to try and deceive the public. It is time the National Assembly bites, the Senate should bite, and the County Assembly should also do so. But strictly within the corridors of facts of the Constitution and the law. And I repeat, nobody is not impeachable, and nobody is a sacred cow. And when you are impeached, carry your own cross to the very end.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kang'o, your final submissions, if you have anything to say.
I think it is a process that Kenyans are going to learn from. In fact, this is an opportunity to test the Constitution. It is good it is happening at the very top level, and it will give precedence on how to undertake some of these issues should some emerge. I want to ask the public that this is not the end of the road. Public participation is important, and I also want to appeal to the members of parliament to be objective and look at these charges one by one and be objective about them. But I also want to ask our leaders. The people of Kenya are crying. The people of Kenya have made a request. They are saying that nothing is working. This is an opportunity to make things work. This is a perfect opportunity to save Kenyans, because we have seen before so much that is not happening. But I want to ask them, as we do this, let's be peaceful, let's remain peaceful, let's be united, let's not be divisive, and progress in a manner that it shall be for the benefit of many and not individuals, as Honorable Sosian said.
Thank you very much, Mr. Frederick Kang'o. Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson Sosian, for making time. Indeed, that was the conversation here this particular morning surrounding the impeachment motion against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, in which the National Assembly is today set to debate and dispose of the matter before it heads to the National Assembly. For it will be supported by at least 233 members of parliament. Remember, the Deputy President needs at least 117 members to oppose that particular motion to stop the impeachment motion against him. But like I said, if at all it will be supported by at least 233 members of parliament, then it will move to the Senate, where Senate will decide whether it will go the plenary way or the 11-member committee way. And after that, members will have to vote. The DP will have time again in the National Assembly and in the Senate to defend himself. And if at all, members of the Senate, that is 45 to be precise, 45 senators do support the motion, then the Deputy President will stand impeached and will cease to hold office. And it will be up to him to decide whether he will head to the courts to challenge that particular outcome. On that note, we just take a brief breather. I'll be back in a moment. Thank you.